Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you are enjoying the holidays. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do because I am actually going to be sharing with you some of the downloads I've been getting in combination with pulling some cards, okay? So the theme is going to be, if you are on the right path, right? And this could be either for you, yourself, if you're a Divine Feminine watching this, or for your Divine Masculine, because you might be having doubts as to whether your Divine Masculine is still on the right path, and you might also be having these doubts about yourself. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that you do not have to be perfect, okay, to still be on the right path, or to be on the right path in general. One could say there's no such thing as perfection, and then one could say everything is perfect. All right, and both of those ideas could be true actually at the same time. But the bottom line is you don't need to feel like you're perfect. So for example, you might feel like, well, you're still thinking about your Divine Masculine, therefore you're not detaching. You're still missing them, therefore you're doing something wrong. Because you're still occupying yourself with them. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that everybody is definitely detaching or detached. And I will also talk a little bit about that. Like, what does that even mean? But for now, the point I want to get across is that you could even come to this point where you're completely balanced, right? And you can still miss your Divine Masculine, even when you are perfectly balanced. So the fact that you are still missing them or still thinking about them does not mean necessarily that you are not detaching. Okay? Does that mean that you are detaching though necessarily? No, maybe you're not. But you can't use whether you're thinking about them or whether you're missing them as a criteria for that. The other thing is that sometimes you might be thinking about your masculine out of habit and not necessarily out of this, crazy attachment. So how would you know if you are thinking about them out of habit? So what you do is you have to bring your thoughts into your awareness. So whenever you have a thought, try to be aware of it, like kind of bring that to the forefront of your consciousness. Be like, oh, I just had this thought. And then try to see if this thought was attached to an intense negative emotion. If it was, well then, yeah, there are still certain things you can do to help yourself with this. But the mere fact that you're bringing these thoughts to your awareness is one of the first steps and is also one of the biggest steps in doing that anyway, okay? And sometimes just becoming aware of what you're thinking and how that's attached to your emotion can help for these thoughts to kind of decrease, and therefore these negative emotions will also decrease because they kind of go together. Now, if you realize that you're having this this thought, right, of your masculine, and then you notice it and you realize it's not really attached to a negative emotion because you didn't feel anything really like intense when you have the thought, then most likely you're just thinking about it or having that thought out of habit. And this happens actually because there was a point in time, where you were really attached, right, to this connection, which, by the way, is not a bad thing, all right? And even if you still are, it's not a bad thing. It does not mean you're not on the right path. Okay, so because there was a point in time when you were attached and you were having these thoughts on a regular basis, your brain gets used to that and it becomes like a routine. So it's kind of like you trained your brain to have these thoughts on a regular basis throughout the day. And so you could just be sitting there out of the blue and just be thinking, oh, DM, whatever their name is, where are you? Kind of a thing, right? And it's just habit if you don't feel like there was a negative emotion attached to that. All right? So let's actually go ahead and pull some cards. So let's see. I want to see what's going on first with the Divine Feminines, actually. So you watching this video, any messages you need to know what is going on here. Alright, I'm just going to take the first one that came out, and we have intuitive communication, silent whispers of the heart. So you can see this card. So what I'm getting with this is that right now the Divine Feminines who are resonating with what I'm saying, you feel like you've been getting these messages, right, intuitively from the Divine about what is going on in your situation, but you're kind of like doubting them. You're not really open to them because some of these messages might be hard for you to believe, and so you might actually get this feeling or get this thought or, you know, hear these words in your mind, maybe kind of see a vision, and you kind of just disregard them because you think it's all just in your imagination. You think that you are creating these images or these thoughts or these words or feelings, but actually it is your higher self or the Divine trying to give you encouragement, trying to let you know that you are actually on the right path. Okay, so do be open to whatever little messages you might be getting. And sometimes, you know, this might even be because not everybody feels like they have these intuitive abilities, but actually you do. You just haven't recognized them yet, okay? Everybody does. And there are actually a ton of free videos, even on YouTube, that can help you to open up your intuitive abilities. Okay, so that might be something worth spending some time on, right? Yeah. All right, and just something else that's coming through right now. For a lot of you, a lot of these little messages that you might be feeling are also actually from your masculine, okay? So do pay attention. And I know it's hard to make these discernments, like, is it my ego? Is it me? Is it wishful thinking? Or am I really getting this from like an external source or my higher self? And again, I'm just gonna say this again, you can look into this, okay? There are tons of videos to help you with that, and it's kind of like, just don't overthink it. When something comes to you out of the blue and you feel like you weren't thinking about this and it just came out of nowhere, it's most likely going to be your higher self, the Divine, or from your Divine Masculine, okay? All right, let's see what else. What else is going on with these Divine Feminines? Yeah, time for a nap. And blessed and come to the edge. Okay, wow. Okay, so I feel like a lot of you may have been overthinking. You may have been overthinking about this connection and about whether you are on the right path or not, and just kind of stressing over it. And Spirit is like, no, just relax. All right, get some rest also. Like, if you have been overworking, that's also keeping you from being able to get your intuitive messages. Okay. And yeah, like, look at this. You are being divinely guided. All right, your path is blessed. So this is just confirmation right here. And with this come to the edge card, I'm really getting that a lot of you are just feeling like you are right on that edge, either ready to give up on the connection and just, but you know, it's funny because you can't. You want to, but it's kind of like, being in denial almost, or trying to deny your feelings. And that was actually one of the points I wanted to make. So here's the thing with this. try not to be in denial of your thoughts and of your emotions. Don't suppress them. Let them come up, even if they're negative, even if you don't like them. Let them come up and acknowledge them. Just kind of try to observe them from a distance and just be like, okay, this is what I just had this thought. Okay, I'm feeling like this and it sucks, you know, and that's fine. Just bring it though to your awareness, because ultimately that's what's going to help you to not be in denial. And what do I mean by not being in denial? What I mean is that sometimes we try to convince ourselves that we are detached, when in fact we're not, and that's okay. You don't have to be detached, okay? You are always going to want your divine masculine if this really is a twin flame connection or a divine soulmate connection. So don't try to not want them, because that's just not going to work, and it's just going to keep you back from your self-awareness, which is what's going to help you move this forward. All right, and that's ultimately what's going to help you to detach while still not denying your emotions. Okay, you can detach and still feel like you want this person. You can detach and still feel like you miss them. You can detach and still want union. All right, so if you are trying to convince yourself that you are detached, that's a self-defense mechanism, because you're trying to convince yourself. If you really were detached, you wouldn't need to convince yourself. You wouldn't care to even think about that in that regard. All right. Yeah. So be okay with the idea that you are, you know, still wanting this, and that you may not be fully detached. That's totally okay. All right. It's more preferable to be like, I don't know if I'm detached, because that's more honest if you're using this as a self-defense mechanism. All right, just to say that you don't know. If you know for a fact that you are, well then I just think that you probably wouldn't be watching this video. I mean, you might, because you might just, you know, like it for the discussion or just out of curiosity. That's a possibility. I'm not going to say that it's not, but I think that for the most part, we oftentimes don't know if we are detached or not, because the line is so thin between, you know, really being detached or using that as a defense mechanism, wanting to be with your dear, like it's all kind of, it can get very, very confusing. So if you just say you don't know, well then you're being more honest, and then your emotions will come to the surface, and your thoughts and the truth will come to the surface of your consciousness a lot more easily. Okay, and this is a huge, huge step. Just bringing things into your awareness is going to help you just release like negativity and just, you know, toxic patterns within yourself, toxic thought patterns within yourself. It's going to help you release that so much more. You can't force yourself to detach, okay? So you kind of just have to let it be what it is. And you can't try to do it prematurely. And this is where cycles come in. And I think I'm just going to make a separate video on that, because there's a lot to say about cycles and patterns. But just so you know, I do believe that cycles are meant to be repeated, okay? It's not a bad thing. I am not going to, you know, talk lowly of repeating a cycle, okay? And actually this kind of brings me to another point I wanted to make about mistakes, because you might feel, this is another reason why you might feel like you're not on the right path, because you might feel like you've made some mistakes, maybe concerning patterns or concerning cycles, you know, giving into your divine masculine when you knew they weren't ready, for example. That's okay, you know, there's no such thing actually as mistakes. A mistake is, what is a mistake? A mistake is really just it's like a reflection of the state that you were in at a certain point in time. That's all it is, okay? It just represents what state you were in at that particular point in time when you made a specific decision. That's all. What's important is being able to bring that to your awareness if you didn't like the consequence of that action, and so that you can break the pattern, all right? Which is what I will probably be talking about in my next video that will be of this nature. So I know there was a point I wanted to make before I got into that. Yeah, I was gonna say that you can't force detachment or separation, and that you kind of just have to let it be, right? That's what I was saying. Because if it's premature, it's most likely going to be that you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's going to be out of a self-defense mechanism again. And you know what, actually, and that's even okay if you do that, right? It's one of those so-called mistakes that's not really a mistake, but the more you can bring these things into your awareness, the less likely you are to do these things that you will later refer to as mistakes. Now, does this mean that you need to wait until detachment feels like it's going to be something very natural and easy, just because you can't force it, right? Because I'm saying you can't force it, so what does that mean? Wait until it's easy? No, because it's never going to be easy, all right? It's never going to be that easy, but there will come a point in time, right, if you are bringing things into your awareness where it will be more manageable, and it will be you doing this, right, taking steps to detach, and your motivation for doing so will be genuinely for you and not as a means to an end to get the masculine to come to you more quickly. And that's the hard part, because getting to that point of feeling that way is the hard part, okay? But it is possible, and it will come. And actually, this is how you can affect divine timing, because, and that's another issue, but let me just get a couple more cards, see if there's any messages, because I'm just gonna keep rambling on and on. All right, let's see. Okay, so we have the Two of Swords and the Two of Wands. That's interesting. Yeah, see? So, actually, I'm going to get one more. Okay, so a lot more came out. Justice in reverse, the Nine of Cups in reverse, and Death. All right, so yeah, so this is what I'm saying. The Divine Feminines have really been a lot in their headspace, trying to decide what they want to do. Like, I feel like just a lot of contemplation and trying to make a decision as to whether they want to move on, but how can they move on and still be on this path? Still, how can you combine both, right? How can you still want your divine masculine, but then still detach from it, still move on, right? With this Two of Swords here. And also, a big part of this is, right, because you feel like your divine masculine is in this Two of Swords energy, you feel that they're not making a decision, that they're not taking any action, that they're just, you feel like they're being stuck, and this is just really making you think. And I feel like it's also with the Justice right after, I feel it in reverse, it's making you think that, number one, you've been treated so unfairly, and number two, you're thinking, is there anything, did I do something wrong? And then for those of you who don't feel like you have done something wrong, like it was just your masculine who treated you in a way that you didn't deserve, you're just really feeling that injustice of that behavior. And this is also what's making you feel like, you know, that maybe your masculine isn't on the right path because you feel like they're still stuck. And with this Nine of Cups in reverse here, you're even wondering, do you even want this person? Is this person even ever going to change? Are they ever going to be able to fill your cups? Are they ever going to be what, you know, you would want them to be in order for you to feel fulfilled, in order for them to be your wish fulfillment? On the one hand, you feel like they are, and then on the other hand, you feel like, how can I be feeling that this person is for me when they have treated me so unfairly, right? And this is the contemplation, and this is what is causing you to have these contradictory thoughts. And here's death at the end, right? And this is what is making you feel like there's something that you want to change. And this is good. This is very good, because you, in order to see a different result, right, you need to do something differently. And that's where, you know, breaking patterns comes in. And so, or breaking a cycle. And because I am going to talk about that in the cycles video, for now what I want to say is breaking your own thought patterns. Let's just say that, all right? Because that's what we were talking about before, about thoughts that might be coming into your head. And like I said, sometimes it's out of habit, but if you feel like it's not, and that you are attached to, that this thought is attached to an emotion, just become aware of it. Like I said before, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's okay, because these points need to be, you know, really stressed. Bring it to your awareness, and by doing that, it will change that pattern. Because if you're just having these thoughts on autopilot, they're just going to continue. Once you acknowledge them, see them, realize them, allow yourself to feel these emotions and acknowledge them, bring to your awareness, you know, the fact that you are still feeling these intense emotions, and that telling yourself that you're detached was just a defense mechanism, that's going to help break this pattern. Now, if you weren't telling yourself that you're detached, okay, well then obviously that doesn't apply to you. Just take what resonates, okay? I'm not trying to tell anybody what they're doing or what they're not doing. Okay, if you feel like your situation is different and that you're feeling differently than what I'm saying, maybe this video just isn't for you, and that's okay. All right, so I think that is about enough about the feminines. I actually want to move on. See how long this video is. Okay, let's just pull a few cards for the divine masculines and see just if there's anything else I wanted to say. No. All right, let's see what's going on with the divine masculines of the feminines who feel like they might not be on their right path anymore. What is going on with them? So we have a reflection, and I'm pretty sure, again, like we just keep getting the same cards for them, so it's very consistent. Reflection, illusion, self-examination, distortion. Before I say anything, I want to get one more from this deck here. Okay, good. And regeneration, okay? So your masculines, if this is resonating with you, they are on the right path, okay? It's just that right now, as they have been, they are examining themselves. They're still going through self-discovery. They're bringing things into their awareness. They are seeing their distortions. They are seeing their illusions. It's like the reality and the truth is coming to the forefront, all right, during this time period. But they are, if you've been feeling something though strange, it's because they are pretty much going through a dark night of the soul while doing this. And I do feel like, especially for those who celebrate the holidays, I think this is making it just even heavier on them. Because they're realizing they're not happy. And you know, usually over the holidays is when you want to be with the people that you feel fulfill you, you want love, you just want genuine connections. And if they don't have that, it's going to sit heavy with them right now. And because they're going through this while everybody else just seems to be all like, you know, happy, merry and joyful, you know, as people tend to be over the holidays, it's like bugging them. But this is what is causing them to change. Look at this regeneration. For me, I feel like this, for this oracle deck, this is like one of the most powerful cards in this deck, because it really means like shedding everything away and starting new, like becoming a new person almost. So this is what this reflection is causing them to do. And in the past, in the last 2 videos that I did, even though it was for those who were involved with karmic situations, though, I found it interesting that in both cases, because there were 2 different groups in the videos, but all of these divine masculines were like resisting the connection with their divine feminines. Like they were suppressing these feelings over the holidays because it was just too hard for them to handle. And so what I'm getting here, if that resonates with you, is that they can't suppress them. Like they're trying to, but these emotions are creeping up, because the suppressing the connection that they feel with their divine feminine is an illusion. It is a distortion, and it is coming up. And this is why they're having this regeneration. I just want to get one more. Yeah, the thinking man. So they're just really thinking about everything. I feel like they're really putting things into perspective. So I probably will be editing this video because I have rambled a bit, so I'm probably going to cut some parts out. So in case you guys are wondering why some bits and pieces look like they've been cut out. Alright, so we got the 2 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, see, so there's some mirroring going on, right, between the masculines and the feminines. Right, they're really contemplating and trying to put the pieces together. And I feel like right now, though, it's like what I was saying, they're just really sitting with what they are going through and not really coming forward to the divine feminine just yet. And it's because they're doing this reflecting and going through the process of regeneration. 6 of Swords in reverse, but they cannot move away from the feminine, okay? So if you've been doubting that, if you've been feeling like they might be leaving you behind, getting over you, moving on because you feel like they've been more distant, for example, they're not, okay? They're just really, I mean, we have the thinking man and the 2 of Wands in reverse. They are really thinking about the situation. It is really heavy on their mind right now. So just because you can't see them doing anything doesn't mean that they're not. Okay? So I'm getting here that they still are on their path. I mean, this regeneration card just pretty much says it all. So to close out, because this is enough, I do want to get a couple of messages, just some final messages concerning this connection or concerning where it's headed, or maybe even advice, whatever wants to come through. So let's see, any final messages or advice for these feminines, or what their masculines want to tell them. All right, we have fork in the road and all that glitter. So what was I just saying? That just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not happening. What you see isn't always what it really is, okay? That's number 1. And number 2, fork in the road. Yes, they are at this point, right, of contemplation. They are at this point where they're really trying to figure out what they're going to do. They haven't just, you know, if they had become really passive recently or at some point and just sitting in the situation, they are back to trying to figure things out, thinking, knowing they can't move away from this connection with their feminines and trying to decide. I mean, they already know what they want to do. It's more like trying to figure out how they're going to do it, okay? That's usually what the 2 of Pentacles, the 2 of Wands represents for me, is finding solutions, right? Especially when it's together with the thinking man, coming up with a strategy so that they will no longer be in this fork in the road. Let's see, any messages from the masculines to for. So this doesn't mean just sitting around waiting, right? But what it is saying is that divine timing is at work in your love life, right? That's what that's saying. And like I have said before, divine timing isn't just a specific set date, okay? There are still things that you can do in the meantime to affect this divine timing. Divine timing is pretty much, it works together with your energy and with your divine masculine's energy. So divine timing is like the point in time when certain things will have aligned, and when things are, you know, certain conditions are met in order for something to be able to manifest, okay? So, and as we said before, you know, like bringing things into your awareness, like what you're going through, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, all of these things are pushing you forward, therefore affecting divine timing, okay? You can affect it partially, all right, if not fully. So I just want to get one more. But definitely this does mean that they are on the right path. All right, this one, actually I think I flipped over before. And we have unrequited love. So what I'm getting with this is that, yes, your masculines are definitely feeling like, you know, they didn't get to fully live this love with you, and they still feel like it's something that's missing from their life, and that is, you know, still one of those unfulfilled, you know, dreams, so to speak, and that they still want this to play out. They still want this love to play out. All right, they're still there, and they believe that it is worth waiting for. All right, so everything is on track. They're just having a really, you know, hard time at the moment, but they are moving forward towards this regeneration. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Those were the messages for today. Again, happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. I hope you guys enjoyed this, or that it was helpful. Please do give me a like if it was, or if you did enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.